Last week I harvested all of the tomatoes out of our hoop house the day after we had our first frost, and I just wanted to give you an update and show you how I'm storing them. We've already used quite a lot. In fact, last night I just cooked a pasta sauce with a lot of my tomatoes. I used like 4. We have a bunch of leftovers. That is how I like to cook, one time for many meals. And a bunch more are ripening up. Here are 2 that are ready, ripe, you know, maybe even they're overripe. Actually, because I'm not gonna be cooking, because we have so many leftovers, I'm gonna be putting this in a Ziploc bag and just putting it right in the freezer. And then these frozen tomatoes will be kind of ugly looking and a little bit falling apart. Their skin will fall apart when they're thawed. So I'll use them for sauce. They're still really good to use for sauces. Anytime just a tomato doesn't have to be kept held together in one piece. And I did want to show you how I'm storing these tomatoes. So I got a good tip from somebody on Instagram to do them in single layers, put them covered, and keep them somewhere cool. And that's how I've been storing them, and it's working very good. It's working very well. Some of them are getting a little bit wrinkly. I did have to throw a few of them out. I probably could have used most of it, just cut off the wrinkly parts. So I always have a ton of boxes from Costco, from Costco trips, and I keep some of those. And I just put the tomatoes in a single layer, uncover it with a towel, just so I can get them all to ripen quickly. I'd rather, have them all ripen up and either freeze some of them or potentially can, but I'd rather do it all at once so that these tomatoes don't go bad. And I have another layer over here, again in a single layer, covered by this other box. I can see some of them ripening in there, so I might take out the ones that are ripe today and just also keep them in the freezer. And then maybe I'll keep one on the counter so we can use for sandwiches. So yeah, I just wanted to show you how I'm keeping them. I know in the last video, or in the video last week, I just ended it showing you all of those green tomatoes. And yeah, it might not seem like I would be using them all, but I'm hoping to. Oh, here's a good example of one that's going bad. This is the only one that's really gotten moldy. I'll put this in the compost. There's some kind of other wrinkling I'm seeing. You can't really see it much in these. I probably already composted the ones that were showing it. It's really not so bad. All of these, if they ripen like this, definitely usable. Oh, yeah, there's something else going on under there. This one, and it's kind of mushy here. I might just cut out the parts that are bad and freeze the rest of it today. I guess this is why it's good that it's in a single layer, because they can go down underneath and kind of get that nasty moldy rotting juice on anything that's underneath them. This one's looking good. Okay, so I'm gonna get my tomatoes put away. I'll show you what I am left with, and I'll put these back. I'm storing them in a cool place. I am putting them actually in my office, which is pretty cool. I don't keep the heater on in there, and I keep the door closed. It's also where I'm hanging some of my flowers to dry. Yeah, it just generally stays pretty cool in there. I'm not sure why. Thankfully, we have the heat controlled in the different rooms, so it's pretty easy to keep that cool. And again, covered and in the dark. It's a couple of days since I filmed that last bit. I just wanted to show you quickly how much is remaining now, which is not so much. I'd say about half of what is gone from this all went to the compost. It just got too mushy. I forgot to put it back in the office, so it's just been here in the kitchen where it's been a little bit warmer, but they've still been covered in those 2 layers. And let me show you how many I have stored in the freezer. So I've got quite a few bags full in the freezer, and we've used a decent amount. I still have a bunch of rhubarb as well from earlier in the season mixed in. I still have a bunch of raspberries as well, bags of those. What I also wanted to show you was some of the other cleanup work that I've been doing in the garden since our first frost. It's now consistently down in freezing temperatures, but I cleared out the hoop house of all the tomatoes. I made way to plant some more kale seedlings that I have, and I still have even more that I might put out. I know these are really late, and I don't know how warm it's gonna get, or I don't know how long they can continue to grow in there before it just gets too cold, but I'll see, and I'll see if there's any other, you know, a little bit of supplemental heat that I want to put in the evenings. It would be great to have those leafy greens throughout, you know, a good portion of this winter to give me something to do in the garden, even though we have a lot of work to do as well inside the house for our renovation. I also took a bunch of Oregon sugar pod peas. I harvested a bunch of the seeds for it. They're here and they've been drying. here is how they look dried. If it will, oh no. Okay, I don't know where all of them went. Here's how they look dried. And I'm just glad to have more of these for next year. I think these are good to go. I'll get these put into the rest of my seed storage, which is also in my office where it's cool and dark. And I also cut down a bunch of the plants from outside, the outside containers and raised beds. And those all went in the compost as well. And now my compost is huge and has a ton of stuff in it. So that's all for this video. In the next few videos, I am going to show you some more of the work that I've been up to after the frost, which include planting my garlic and daffodil bulbs. I also pulled up dahlia and begonia tubers and stored them in the same way I did my ranunculus and anemone corms, so I'll show you that as well. And some more housework that we've been doing, just painting, putting on the trim, you know, taping things off for the board and batten pattern, a lot of more things for the house that I've just been keeping in mind and trying to get more organized about. So I'll show you more of that all as it happens, but for now, thanks so much for watching. Bye. Wait, Judith, leave it.